Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told how to voice the radio. And if you're watching this, then it means that I've got a new son, and I'm taking a couple days off of making videos. So I thought this might be a good time to have a little bit of a chat about another three cards which are so gosh darn good. Pokemon are never going to be reprinting them. This is a series which seems pretty popular over on here. Thank you so much to everybody who's given me their suggestions. As always, if you've got any cards which you think are definitely just not going to be reprinted, do let me know in the comment section. Maybe I'll feature them in another episode down the line. So starting off today, I think one card which is never ever coming back is Floatstone. Floatstone is one of those cards that does not on the face of it look proper job over the top overpowered, but it's one of those that Pokemon have honestly been pretty gosh darn clear is too good and they're not bringing it back. Now what Floatstone is just a Pokemon tool card that gives you free retreat. Simple as that. No bells, no whistles. It is just a card that you attach to your Pokemon and then you don't have to pay a retreat cost. It doesn't seem terribly exciting, except it's proven to be absolutely amazing. Now, it first came around in Plasma Freeze, and then we did get an alternate art reprint of it just a little bit later in Breakthrough, and we got two in quick succession, and we were like, yeah, that means it's staying around. No, it's not. Because we last got it in Breakthrough, and since then, absolutely nothing. And Breakthrough's not exactly a particularly recent set. Came around in English in November 2015, so we're talking 6.5 years ago at this stage, and Pokemon have chosen not to reprint it. What they have done is gone and reprinted a bunch of cards which are worse versions of it. So they gave us a skateboard, which reduces your retreat cost by 1, did let you retreat even if you were asleep or paralyzed, which made it amazing with the Jirachi from Team Up, that looked at the top 5 cards of your deck, found the trainer, went to your hand, but then it went to sleep, which was, not ideal, but then a skateboard let you retreat, so, you were fine and life was good. So it was great in that, but outside of that, it wasn't a particularly good card. It was one of those that saw no play, and then Jirachi came around, then all of a sudden it was great. It was actually a Pokemon League promo, and there were a few people who were hoovering this up initially because nobody wanted it, and then it got quite a bit better. But it's not the same. We've seen U-Turn Board, which reduced your retreat cost by 1, but if it was discarded from play, it went to your hand instead of the discard pile, and that was nice, don't get me wrong, that was a handy bonus, but it's nowhere near Floatstone. I mean, the closest we've had is Air Balloon, that came around in the Sword and Shield base set, and this should tell you basically everything you need to know, because Air Balloon is literally just bad Floatstone. Floatstone gave you no retreat, Air Balloon reduces it by 2. Well, that's not the same, ladies and gentlemen. That is not the same. And the wording here is actually really important as well, because if we look at a card like Galamine, for instance, Galamine increases your retreat cost by 2. Well, what would happen with Air Balloon is that you bring your retreat cost back down to what it was before. Goes up by 2, goes down by 2, call it a draw. But what happens with Floatstone is your retreat cost is 0, so Galamine puts it up to 2, and you're like, yeah, mate, it's still 0. It sets it at 0 and keeps it at 0, so your opponent basically can't increase it, whereas Floatstone just brings it down, so if your opponent is increasing it, you're kind of out of luck. It is basically such a good card in so many different matchups to give free retreat, and this is one of these ones where I'm not entirely sure what the problem is, because it helps everybody evenly. This isn't one of those cards that just helps some Pokemon but not others, but Pokemon have clearly taken the opinion that free retreat, it's just too good and too easy, and we've gotten rid of it. We do have one card which gives kind of this, and that is Snowleaf Badge, that actually gives free retreat and takes away your weakness, but you've got to be a Pokemon V who's got Leafeon or Glaceon in its name, including VMAX and V-Star, So, it's not quite the same, ladies and gentlemen, I think is fair to say. It's interesting, of course, because when this card came around initially, we had Fluffy Berry, which gave you 0 retreat cost, but did not work, or got discarded even, if attached to a Pokemon EX or a Dark Pokemon. And then we had Balloon Berry, which came around as early as Neo Revelations, which gave you free retreat, but got discarded when you retreated it. Essentially, you got rid of Balloon Berry instead of discarding your energy, which both of those are significantly worse than Floatstone. It's been like 6.5 years. We've received several significantly worse versions of it. I think at this stage it's safe to say that even though Floatstone might not look on the face of it like a redonkulously overpowered card, we are not getting it back, ladies and gentlemen. That one is gone. Similarly, a card which will seem very familiar to those of you that were playing back in the Gen 4 days, Staraptor FB Level X. Yeah. Doesn't look like a phenomenal, crazy, over-the-top card on the face of it, but this is one that I think about a lot, and basically, if this was legal now, I would kind of want it. Now, it's not about the attack to Fog, free colorless energy, 40 damage, but you may discard a stadium in play and do 70, nobody really cares. But it had the Poker Power Fast Call. Poker Power is what you used to call abilities if they were active, if you actually had to activate them. Once during your turn, you may search for a supporter card and put it into your hand. Simple as that. The thing about Staraptor FB Level X is, it is a Level X. Which means that you kind of evolve it, except it's not really evolving, from the regular Pokemon, but you've got to be in the active. But because this is an FB, a Frontier Brain Pokemon, it means it's a basic Pokemon, an SP Pokemon, and that means that you get a basic Staraptor. Staraptor's not a basic Pokemon, but it is here. So you've got one evolution that isn't really an evolution, but you do have to be active, and then this ability's on the board, but it's also worth bearing in mind that you have no retreat. So this was actually a really easy one to get on the board. What you would essentially do is wait till a Pokemon was knocked out or you had a switching card, either would do. You would get Staraptor into the active, level exit, free retreat, and then every turn for the rest of the game, you had the correct supporter card that you needed. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the thing is, we've kind of got this at the moment, but it's not the same. You see, in Evolving Skies, we said hello to Dragon Pokemon, and one of the Pokemon to whom we said hello was Altaria. We got ourselves a new Altaria, which has the ability Tempting Tune. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for a supporter card, reveal it, and put that card on top of your deck after shuffling your deck. And I know that doesn't seem a million miles away from Staraptor, but trust me, it absolutely is. Does have free retreat again, incidentally, which is a lovely bonus. The thing is, you've got to draw it. And sure, there are a million different ways to do so. We've got Oranguru, which can swap a card in your hand with the top card of your deck. We saw this played with Suicune quite a bit over in Japan, because Suicune, of course, will allow you to draw a card if it's active. But the point is, you've actually got to go to the effort of drawing that card, which is not always as easy as it might appear. And we've seen versions of this card. In fact, I showed you one just the other day. I showed you that new Gallade. By the time you hear this, this should just have come out in Japan. It's going to be in the set after Brilliant Stars in our May set in English. And this has an ability, same as Staraptor, that once during your turn, you get to search for a supporter card and put it into your hand. The difference is, this is a Stage 2 Pokemon. And a Stage 2 Pokemon is significantly more awkward than having your pseudo Stage 1 Pokemon. It's not the same. We saw this in Team Up with Dragonite, but again, it was on a Stage 2 Pokemon, which was more awkward to get into play. And this is one that on the face of it doesn't seem like that big a deal, but it really is. Because SP decks loved Staraptor. I'm not saying every one of them played it, but I am saying that I played against a bunch of SP decks, and a bunch of them played this, and being able to grab any supporter whenever you like is great. Having it on a stage 2, nowhere near as good. Having it on a stage 1, but then having to be able to draw the card is nowhere near as good. Staraptor is one of those ridiculous Pokemon where, even though it doesn't necessarily look crazy broken, and even though there are other cards we've seen that seem similar, it actually is proper over-the-top good, and Pokemon have been pretty clear in that they're just making tiny little changes just to make sure that this card just remains worse than it was before. And the final card we're going to be talking about today, I am cheating just a little bit, it is Shaymin. And the reason I say I'm cheating just a little bit is because Shaymin has been banned. And I don't really like to talk about banned cards in these videos, because obviously they're not coming back. I prefer to focus on cards which haven't been banned, but I want to talk about Shaymin, because every time now I make a video like this, a whole bunch of people go, Wossy, what about Genesect? And I cannot put Genesect on this list. Genesect got printed in Fusion Strike, which literally came out 3 months ago. There is absolutely no way I can feature a Pokemon in this series that is so good it's never going to be reprinted when it literally got printed 3 months ago. But we're going to talk about Shaymin and why Shaymin is so good it's never coming back, even if it hadn't been banned. And then we can launch into a bit of a Genesect chat as well. You see, Shaymin didn't actually get itself banned. Shaymin has always been a very good card. Since the minute Shaymin released, it has been a proper job, over-the-top, crazy good card. It was an absolute staple in Standard, and then it rotated, and just became an absolute staple in Expanded, right up until the moment it got banned. But Shaymin didn't get Shaymin banned. Scoop Up Net got Shaymin banned. We were absolutely fine with Shaymin until Rebel Clash came along with Scoop Up Net. For those that may be unfamiliar, Scoop Up Net is an item card that lets you put a Pokemon that isn't a Pokemon V or Pokemon GX into your hand. But Pokemon EX don't count here. And Shaymin's a Pokemon EX. And Shaymin's ability, which I haven't actually said yet, lets you draw until you have 6 cards in your hand. It's great. But the thing is, Scoop Up Net, because it excluded Vs and GXs, but not EXs, you ended up with this absurd situation where you could literally use Scoop Up Net to reuse Shaymin, which was obviously not the point. And we ended up with a card that was way, way too good. And that, incidentally, is why Shaymin got banned. I feel pretty confident, and I cannot prove this, but I feel pretty confident that if Scoop Up Net had said excluding Pokemon with a rule box, then Shaymin would still be legal and Expanded. We can look at cards like Path to the Peak. Pokemon with a rule box in play have no abilities. Or Cherim, as often as you like during your turn, you may attach a grass energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon that doesn't have a rule box. I think that if we'd use the rule box phrasing on Scoop Up Net, for anyone that's wondering, yes, Scoop Up Net came out before we'd ever use the term rule box. Rule box as a term originated in battle styles with Pokemon like Cherim, so that's why we didn't say rule box at the time. Rule box wasn't a phrase. I am convinced Shaymin would not have been banned if Scoop Up Net wouldn't have allowed you to reuse it. Scoop Up Net is really what broke Shaymin. But Shaymin is still way, way, way too good, and we're never having it back. And if you want the easiest discussion as to, or the easiest example as to why, just look at Crobat. Crobat is literally Shaymin, but it's limited to once per turn regardless of how many you've actually got in play. It's literally got the same ability. The only difference is Shaymin doesn't limit you to one set of ability during your turn, but Crobat does leave you at one dark asset ability during your turn. So I don't think Shaymin would have been banned if Scoop Up Net targeted rule boxes rather than just Vs and GXs as Pokemon that couldn't use it. But I do think Shaymin is so good that it's not coming back. You know, we could see stuff like Kricketune, for instance, which is limited to once during your turn. Lets you draw until you've got 3 cards in your hand, 4 if it's active. And all of a sudden, that is only once per turn, which is clearly ridiculous. But then we get to Genesect. And I do believe wholeheartedly that Genesect is too good. And I do believe that in a couple of years' time, I'm going to be making another one of these videos, and one of my featured Pokemon is going to be Genesect V. Because I do believe that Genesect V was a mistake and is too good. The ability lets you draw until you've got a number of cards in hand equal to the number of Fusion Strike Pokemon you've got in play, but it's not limited to one Fusion Strike system ability per turn. So if you get 6 Fusion Strike Pokemon out, 4 of which are Genesect, and Genesect is going to make that more likely, you can essentially draw 6 cards, empty your hand, draw 6 cards, empty your hand, draw 6 cards, empty your hand, draw 6 cards. You can get 4 Genesect out and be drawing 24 cards per turn. And the reason why Shaymin is banned is that the combination of Shaymin and Scoop Up Net lets you draw too many cards too quickly. And if you can draw too many cards too quickly, that leads to combos which are oppressive. It basically stops your opponent being able to play the game. And those are the cards that Pokemon end up banning. In the previous video, I showed you Unknown, and I told you that that was too good, because you can bench it and then immediately discard it to draw a card, and that can lead to some crazy fast combos. And yet Genesect is fine? Shaymin and Unknown are too good, but Genesect is fine? Bearing in mind, Genesect isn't when you play from your hand, it's just every turn, it just sits on the bench and reuses it. Genesect, as far as I'm concerned, in a Fusion Strike deck, because remember, it's only drawing 6 if you've got 6 Fusion Strike Pokemon out. But in a Fusion Strike deck, it seems like Genesect is actually better than Shaymin. And yet Shaymin's the one that's been banned? Yeah, I'm not buying it, ladies and gentlemen. But I do feel very confident that Floatstone is gone and isn't coming back. Staraptor Level X, or that ability at least, is gone and is never coming back. And Shaymin is gone and never coming back. We hadn't actually featured Shaymin in this series yet, so I do think it was very much worth having a discussion as to why it's not coming back, even though I'm not sure it would have been banned if Scoop Up Net had come just a couple sets later. But also, we needed to talk about Genesect, because I know a bunch of you were going to comment Genesect, and now we've had a chat about it. But now, ladies and gentlemen, it's over to you guys. Do you agree with me on these cards? Do you think any of these cards have a chance of coming back? And which cards do you think are so good they are never coming back? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.